The next thing he says is, hold on, we're going down. And that's really something you don't want to ever hear a pilot say. We looked around and I was like, are we inside the volcano? Another hour goes by and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is not happening.
Hi, and welcome to Lives Less Ordinary on the BBC World Service YouTube channel. I'm Asya Fuchs. You've probably seen the internet meme, "The cameraman always survives." Well, it's no truer than in the story of Chris Duddy, the cinematographer for huge blockbusters like Titanic and Terminator 2. He found himself trapped in a volcano after the helicopter he was in crashed, and he lived to tell the tale. Chris, welcome to Lives Less Ordinary. Today, you're joining us from the safety of your home in Los Angeles. But what about on that day in November 1992 when you were in a helicopter filming a scene for a film called Sliver? You were with Craig Hosking, the pilot, and Mike Benson, the director of photography. You were his assistant. So where exactly were you? What were you doing? And what could you see out of that helicopter?
We're in Hawaii and it's, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And we're on the big island where the volcano is. I was in the back seat. The doors are off. So I'm like touching air. And Mike is in the passenger seat and Craig's on the left side of me. And it was just beautiful. I mean, we're flying along the coast and I'll never forget, like, I remember just, thinking to myself, like, I can't believe I'm getting paid right now. This is like the best job ever, until it wasn't.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so were you nervous at all about flying over an active volcano, or was it just
I mean,
exciting and cool?
it was exciting. I mean, I had done a lot of area work with Mike Benson. Coincidentally, a year before this show, I was hired to shoot second unit on a small movie called Nemesis, and I flew around the same volcano. So when Mike called me, I was like, "Oh, I know that volcano. I've been there before. It's great. This is going to be fun." So there's like the big Kilauea volcano, and then there's little subcultures of it. And the one that we were flying around was called the Pu'u'o'o vent, and we like to call it the Pu'u'o'o vent.
I believe before you took off that day, you even had like a special kind of good luck ceremony to sort of bless the
Well,
trip.
the Hawaiians are very spiritual people, so the production hired a priest for the first day of filming,
Mm.
and the whole crew stands around the helicopter, and the priest comes out and he blesses the helicopter he sprinkles some holy water, and then he gave us a gin bottle wrapped in tea leaves, and the idea is that you it's an offering to Madame Pele, who's the goddess of fire.
Hmm.
And the idea was, okay, you toss this bottle wrapped in tea leaves into the volcano, and Pele basically lets you live.
Well, it
So
didn't
she
quite
did.
quite work, right? Well, I guess it kind of did work, right? Because here you are today. At what moment do you realize that something's not right on this helicopter?
So the shot is that we're flying over the volcano, and we tilt the camera down, and it feels like the helicopter's kind of flying in the volcano. So that was the shot. So we did a take. Mike was like, okay, I think we could do another take, and we went lined up to do the second take, and that's when all hell broke loose. So what I do remember is, as we got up approaching the volcano, there's a lot of smoke and stuff comes up out of it. I'm looking at the monitor, and then I feel like the tail section did this wobble. And then I hear Craig go, "Oh God." And I look up, and then the next thing he says is, "Hold on, we're going down." And that's really something you don't want to ever hear a pilot say. And we're heading right for the cliff. And then we free fell. I don't really know how high we were at that point, but we had a hard impact, on the skids on a rightward motion. Craig had hit his head on something and he had this huge gash over his eye. We're all disoriented. So we were like, oh, we got to get out of here, get out. So we were belted in and everything. So we jump out of the helicopter and I'm looking around. And I think at that point, we really I didn't know that we were actually in the volcano.
And just to take a step back, like while you're still in the helicopter kind of hurtling towards this volcano, I mean, did you have a moment to think, to process what was going on? Or were you thinking, oh my goodness, I'm about to die?
I mean, it happened so fast that you're really I was just holding on to I've never been in a helicopter crash before. So there wasn't really any time to think about anything until we got out. And then it was like, wow, we were really lucky that we didn't, that we survived the crash.
Yeah.
But then the realization of where we were hit real hard because immediately, the fumes down there are so strong, like breathing was very difficult. Like immediately you start coughing, your eyes start burning from the sulfur. And we looked around and I was like, are we inside the volcano? And Craig was like, yeah, we are. And it's like kind of like the size of a football stadium. It's probably about 350 feet from the bottom to the top of the rim. Immediately we were like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. We can't, this is toxic. We were like, okay, we got to climb out of here.
How do you even go about getting out of the middle of a volcano? Like, where do you start?
Well, I mean, it was just like instinct at that point. We didn't know. We were just like, we got to get out. So it was like, rats trying to get off a sinking ship. We started climbing and it was really hard to climb because the dried lava is like, you just grab onto something, it just breaks off and crumbles and it's really sharp too. It's kind of like crawling through broken glass. I don't know how long, like we were climbing for maybe 10 minutes and then it got really difficult. And I stopped and I yelled down to them. I said, "Oh, I got to stop. I can't really go any further. It's too dangerous. It's like straight up and down at this point. And there's not a lot to grab onto. And I was breaking, rocks off and it was falling down onto them. Craig goes, okay, look, let's just stop. We got to come up with a game plan. And I'm going, well, does anybody know, do they know we crashed yet? Does anybody know yet? And Craig's like, probably not. I mean, this is only maybe 10, 15 minutes after we crashed. So, And then Craig goes, look, I'm going to go back down to that helicopter and fix the radio and put out a mayday. So he goes back down. I never saw Mike again the rest of the time. He was about 50 feet below me. I mean, we could talk to each other, but I couldn't see him. So Craig goes down and he actually fixed the radio and he starts doing Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And he's coughing and he can't breathe. And he's yelling back up to us, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And he was like throwing up and coughing and he was really in a bad way. Then a few helicopters started hovering around and we hear this one helicopter, it gets louder and louder. We're trying to yell for Craig. And then that helicopter kind of went away and he doesn't yell back. So we think, Mike and I now think Craig died. I mean, it was not a good situation. Like we were freaking out. I mean, the despair was thick. It was like near-death experiences usually are, they're like a flash, right? In a car wreck or whatever, it's like a flash. Well, this was like a long-term near-death experience. Anyway, we were hopeful because now we knew that they knew where we were. Not long after that, there was a ground crew came up on the rim, and they're yelling down to us. They're like, "Okay, we're gonna try to get you guys." And so there was some hope at that point. Like I was like, "All right, they know we're in here. They'll get us out." They're trying to stay. Mike was trying to really stay positive. He's like, Chris, they're going to get us. Don't worry. Just sit tight, But they managed to come around. Anyway, they were like, okay, we're going to try to throw a rope down to you guys, right? And I see this rope come flying down, but it's like 20 feet away from me. And I'm like, Mike, do you see the rope? And Mike's like, yeah, I see it, but I can't reach it. And I'm like, I can't either. It's too far away. So I'm yelling up to the guys, throw the rope 20 feet to your right. About 5 minutes later, comes down, but now it's like 10 feet away. And I can't reach it. Mike can't reach it. So I yell up, 10 feet to your right. Now it's almost close enough to reach, but I would have to jump to get it. And I'm not going to do that because it's literally like 300 feet straight down. And now at this point, the weather starts to come in, the clouds start to come in and sock in kind of the over the cone, and it starts raining. And then waiting and waiting, and the rain starts to fall harder, and no rope. Half hour goes by, an hour goes by, and we hear nothing. We didn't know what was going on, but apparently the weather was really bad up on the top where it was. This is in November, so it gets dark at like 5:30. Like another hour goes by, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is not happening. Like, something's wrong. And then these guys come out and they go, hey, look, we're gonna call off the rescue till first light in the morning. So just sit tight. We'll get you in the morning. And I'm like, wait, what? I gotta stay in here. We have to stay in here all night, like in an active volcano. Like, how is that gonna work? So they go, look, we're gonna camp out up here. We'll come at every hour and check on you guys. We'll blow a whistle, and if you guys could whistle back to let us know you're still alive, basically. so so I'm like, oh my God, we gotta stay in here all night. I mean, it was just, the despair was thick. I mean, it was like, this is bad. And I just tried to shallow breathe and keep my eyes closed as much as possible, and just hold on and hope this ledge I'm sitting on doesn't disintegrate and fall.
What is your internal monologue at this point, after you realize you are going to be spending the night inside this volcano?
I mean, I just thought this was it. I was like, this is how I'm going out. I'm not gonna. How are we gonna survive in here for the next 12 hours or whatever without clean air, and our eyes are burning. I was trying to stay hopeful, but it was pretty despairing. And Mike was really comforting to me that he was there, and we could communicate and talk to each other, and try to support each other. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if Mike was in there. If I was in there by myself, I don't think I would have made it. He was just trying to stay positive. He's like, don't worry, Chris, they're gonna get us. They'll get us out of here. They know where we are. They'll figure it out. They'll get us out tomorrow. Meanwhile, it's dark. It's raining. I'm soaking wet. I feared if I fell asleep that I would fall off this ledge. So I kept myself awake. I didn't sleep the whole night. Internally, I was talking to everybody in my family, and kind of saying goodbye to everybody, because I really didn't think we were gonna make it out. I didn't think I was gonna survive the night. And I kept standing up and looking, like, well, when it was still light out, like, how can I climb out of here? I got to find a way out of here. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see a way out. That night was so wild. It was like the colors from the lava, through the smoke, and it was like a light show. It was actually quite spectacular. And then also throughout the night, you could hear the lava flowing, and it sounded like, I don't know if you've ever been camping by a river, and you can hear the rocks moving on the bottom of the riverbed, and you hear this kind of rumbling sound, and so that was going on, and then it would rumble louder, and then it would cause rock slides, and there would be rock slides all around me, and it was terrifying, because I'm like, what if it rumbles enough where the ledge I'm sitting on breaks off and I'm part of a rock slide? It was like white knuckling all night, just sitting there trying not to die.
And were you able to
It was wild.
drink anything at all, like the rainwater?
No, and I was mad at myself. I had a bottle of water in the helicopter and I didn't grab it when we took
Mm.
off. Um, but I had my sunglasses and I just put them on a rock and let them, the glass collect the rainwater, and I would lick it, but it tasted like sulfur. It tasted like rotten eggs. It was terrible. So, I mean, I would do it just to wet my tongue, wet the my mouth a little bit, but it was not. It was bad. That was kind of the excruciating night of sitting there.
Did the rescuers come back?
So yeah, so as soon as first light, they came back out and they're like, okay, you know, we're gonna try to get you guys, and they started making their way around. I could hear them. They're yelling to us, and then the rain got worse, if you can imagine that. A couple hours go by and nothing's really happening, and I'm yelling down to Mike. I'm like, Mike, I don't know what's going on. And the hope started to fade. Now it's middle of the day and still nothing. I hear helicopters hovering. These guys on the ground were yelling. What I came to find out after was right above us, there was this huge crevasse, like a crack in the rim, and they couldn't get right above us because of this crack.
Hmm.
And they feared they would cause an avalanche on us if they got up there. And then, as the weather continued to get bad and worse, it's too dangerous. My throat's all swollen, eyes are burning. I kept standing up and looking like I gotta find a path. Like I gotta find a way, because I'll climb. If I can find a clear path, I'll climb. We didn't have cell phones back then, but if I had had a smartphone, I would have had some great content, Instagramming live from.
From inside a volcano.
But I had a watch, and I kept yelling down to Mike. I'm like, if they haven't rescued us by 4:30, I'm climbing. And Mike's like, don't do it, don't climb. No, they're gonna get us. I can't stay in here another night. I gotta get out of here. And comes around like 4:30, and it was really weird. It was like the weather started to clear, and all of a sudden the clouds kind of parted, and this ray of sunshine hit the cliff, and I saw, oh my God, there's like a path. I could see it now. I'm like, okay, Mike, I see a way out. I'm gonna climb. And Mike's like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I start climbing, and this is the part where I start to have anxiety talking about it. I don't know if I blacked out or I don't remember exactly the whole climb. And I get to the top, the very top, and there's nothing to grab onto. It's literally the last 5 feet is flat gravel. And I'm like, oh man, what have I done? I don't know how to finish this. And I can't go back down. And I'm clinging onto the side of this cliff. I thought the only way I could get leverage to hoist myself was to dig my arms into this gravel. But it was like digging your arms into broken glass. And I dug my right arm in up to my elbow. Meanwhile, it's just cutting my arm. And I do my left arm, I dig it in up to my elbow. So both my arms are in this gravel up to my elbows. And I just count to three. And this part, I don't physically, I don't know how it, but I feel like I flipped, and I landed on my back on the top. And I laid there for a second, and I'm like, oh my God, am I still alive? Am I dead? I don't know what's going on. And I stand up, and I'm out. And I'm standing there, and it was like the movie Rocky when he runs up to the top of the stairs and he gets to the top and that music starts, dun 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 dun. So I'm standing there. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. I'm out. So I go running down the backside of the cone. Well, I see the rope. The rope the guys were throwing down to us was laying there. So I'm like, oh my God, I got the rope. I'm going to go get Mike. I'm yelling down to Mike, Mike, I got out. And then I realized, I'm like, I'm not, if I throw the rope down to Mike, I'm not strong enough to pull him out like by myself, or he's going to pull me in and we're both going to die. So I'm like, okay, that's a bad idea. So I just laid the rope down like as a pointer, like this is where Mike is. And I turned and I ran around the crevasse and then I see these cones, these orange cones. So I follow the cones and I find their base camp. So there was a tent or a couple tents and like water bottles and oxygen tanks. So I run over and nobody was there. I grabbed a water bottle and I started drinking water bottle and my throat was so swollen. The water just came out. It didn't go, it was barely went down my throat. And I grabbed the oxygen tank and I put the mask on. I'm breathing. I'm finally, oh my God, I'm breathing air finally. So I put water bottles in my pocket. I grabbed this oxygen tank and I'm like, I'm just going to walk until I find somebody or somebody finds me. And then I see this helicopter flying, hovering, and they see me and I'm, waving over here and they look at me and they're like, who the heck is this guy, And so they land and I'll never forget, they jumped out of the helicopter and they run over to me. And the second the guy touched my arm, my whole body went completely limp. Like I just turned into a bag of Jello. I hit the ground. They like had to pick me up. There were two guys and they had to carry me to the helicopter and put me in and strap me in. And I just started bawling, crying, like uncontrollably, and he's patting me on the back and he's like, it's okay, man. You're safe. You did it, And it takes about 5 minutes to get to our base camp. And I'll never forget seeing it was like a movie. It was like there were fire trucks and ambulances and news vans and news crews. And there were like 100 people down there. And I'm like, what? It's like this, it's like a circus. And the first person I see running up to the helicopter is Craig, the pilot, our pilot. And he's got this big black eye and a big cut over his eye. And I'm like, Craig, you're alive. We thought you died.
How did Craig end up being rescued? Because he was down below. He was lower than you and Mike.
He told me later that he kept having to run up this little mound. A park ranger guy was flying by and he heard the Mayday and he was hovering at the rim and Craig was going, I can't breathe, talking to him. And it affected him so much that he flew down in there. He flew into the volcano and hovered in the whiteout, hovering. And Craig's on the radio going, okay, come this way, come this way. He was guiding him over the radio. And this guy hovered, a few feet off the bottom of the volcano. And he got close enough and Craig ran over, jumped in, and they flew off.
Wow.
That's the sound. We were hearing it, but we couldn't see it. And then when that helicopter went away, that's when we were like, Craig, and then we thought he died because then we couldn't hear him anymore. And he said he was trying to yell to us, come down the helicopter, but we couldn't hear him because the helicopter, we couldn't see him because of the whiteout.
All three of you had to spend some time in the hospital after what had happened. I mean, were there lasting sort of physical effects of this experience?
There were like some pulmonary issues. It was kind of like having bronchitis for a few months after that. Like I could cough up phlegm and it tasted like sulfur. It tasted like rotten eggs for like 6 months after that. Like I could still taste it.
Yeah. And would it take you right back every time you coughed?
A little bit. But it was so joyous. The joy that I felt, surviving that overcame any anxiety I had about it. And the attention we got, was tremendous. Like they kept us in Hawaii for about 10 days after it because the doctors wanted to kind of keep an eye on us and study us because Nobody had ever endured that amount of toxic fumes in a volcano before for that period of time. So I sat by the pool for a week and I wrote a journal basically about it, which I still have.
Do you ever read that journal still? Do you ever like crack it
Well,
open?
interestingly, I didn't read it till about 2 years ago. I never read it, and it was really wild to read it after 30 years. But when I got back to LA, my phone didn't stop ringing for like 2, 3 weeks. You know, doing interviews for magazines, newspapers, talk shows. Like Mike and I did Oprah. We went on the Oprah Winfrey show, after,
Were you
and
surprised by
it
the
got,
attention?
yeah, a little bit. Um, and finding out that CNN was doing hourly updates and stuff. I mean, that's actually how my mom heard about it. My mom, the day of the crash, my mom's, doing her stuff, and she has CNN on, and the breaking news, Hollywood film crew crashes in a volcano in Hawaii, and my mom's sitting there, and she's like, well, wait a minute, Chris is in Hawaii, he's doing helicopter work, and right as she's piecing it together, the phone rings, and she picks up the phone, and it's big producer at Paramount, and he says, is this Chris Daddy's mom? And she's like, yes. And he goes, well, we have a situation. And my mom's like, no kidding, I'm watching it on CNN. And he's like, go get on a plane right now and get out there. So when I got to the hospital, my mom met me at the hospital. It was wild.
Were you surprised by, by your own resilience and getting out of that volcano?
I mean, yes and no. I think anybody put in that situation, you know, you, it's like the story of the adrenaline mom that can lift a car off her
Mm.
child. Like you kind of become superhuman, with all that adrenaline. Because I mean, I think about that climb, and 9 out of 10 times I would have fallen.
Mm.
I think I just got really lucky.
Have you been in a helicopter since?
I have I that next year. And by the way, my career like took off like a rocket after that. Like I had worked nonstop after that. I was getting calls, and I was working on this movie called Waterworld, that Kevin Costner movie, and they offered me a promotion basically from camera operator to director of photography to go back to Hawaii and shoot an aerial. It was an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. I knew it was going to be rough to get back in there, especially back in Hawaii again. And this shot required us to be at 10,000 feet, and we did like 2 or 3 takes, and then I had a complete panic attack because the director was sitting in the front seat, and he goes, "Okay, we got the shot." And I'm like, "Okay, take me down right now. I have to get out of this helicopter right now." And so we flew and landed, and I got out, and I haven't been back in a helicopter since. I have no
Yeah.
desire to either.
I can understand that. After this experience, you kept working, your career took off. Maybe you weren't in a helicopter, but you still shot some pretty, dangerous scenes. I guess you never considered kind of throwing in the towel and getting a different career, something quiet where you could sit behind a desk and not expose yourself to danger.
I thought about it, but I love what I do. What it did for me though, it gave me this weird confidence that, or like kind of invincibility, where I was like, I could do anything now. If I could survive that, I can kind of do anything now, and my career just took off. Like I was a camera assistant then, and then I moved up to camera operator, and then shortly thereafter I moved up to director of photography. And I don't know if I would have had that trajectory the accident didn't happen.
Mm.
You know, I don't know if I would have had the, just it's hard when you move up in what I do in the camera world. You know, when you move up, it's almost like a step back because everybody knows you for what you have been doing and not for what you want to do. So, but it gave me that sort of that confidence to take the risk of doing that. And you know, I've had a great career after that. You know, and I always say I think everybody should have a near-death experience because it really changes your perspective and it humbles you. And it makes you realize how fragile life is, and because of that, like every day is a gift.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to present that to the world and inspire people to live like that because life is really fragile. You know.
Chris Duddy, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching Lives Less Ordinary on the BBC World Service YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care.